Okay, today we are carving jack-o'-lanterns out of wood. I've already done some little cuts here, but let's get started. So what we'll do is we'll take off the top here, and this top one will be the only one that has a stem, because the rest of the jack-o'-lanterns will just be sitting on top of underneath this one. So if we can cut this one down to where it has just a stem here, somewhere in the middle. Cut away all this material. And then I've got my trusty pumpkin yellow, or excuse me, pumpkin orange. This is the apple barrel paint that I'll use to paint it up. And then just use black for the faces, you know, just so it shows up nicely. But this is a cool little Halloween decoration you can make. So we're almost there. Cut it away till you end up with a slightly off-center stem situation. Something like this. Okay. And we'll carve down the sides here a little bit. And okay. So here's the stem. And like I said, we want it to be slightly off center and then sort of thin. And then that will be green and it will sit on top of the pumpkin's head. Excuse me. Okay, almost there. And then this will be a full stack of jack-o'-lanterns just sitting on top of each other. And I've got just some really rough reference sketches. So then we're just going to round it down like so. Okay, then cut it up a little bit on these sides, because obviously you don't want these to be you don't want them to be square. And then we'll just cut in like this. Then we'll cut in again, and of course this is a 1x1 piece, small enough to manage and quickly carve. 1x1 piece of basswood. So let's carve this out, and obviously I'm not going to carve all the pumpkins on camera. I'll just carve like the top two, and that way you'll be able to see how this works, how this stack of jack-o'-lanterns works. It's a pretty simple thing, but it's always nice to see. Okay. And then of course we want to carve this out, this little area here, and then get these corners. Okay, almost there to the end of the roughed out stage. And then, like I said, we're going to do V-cuts here and here. And of course, pumpkins don't have to be perfectly round. They can be slightly tall. A lot of pumpkins are that way, sort of oblong or elongated. Okay. And pumpkins can also have almost a square look to them. They don't have to be perfectly round. Just get it how you want it. That's the most important thing. Okay. And then we're actually going to carve up this stem here. Oh, gotta make sure I'm not getting out of camera. Okay. That will do fine for a stem. And that'll just be painted green. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do this again, but obviously we're not going to do it with a stem. You're just going to make this sort of stack, go all the way down. Have an idea of where each pumpkin is supposed to be. And then just cut in at intervals where each pumpkin will end up. And then the idea is to paint different faces on them, right? Paint them all orange first, and then paint the different faces on them with black. And I'll show you that in a second. So this is the carving portion. Finished up here. And I won't make you sit through any more of that. Okay, so we got to put the little gouges in the pumpkin. And you can see I've done it all down here. I'm going to put a face on the top two pumpkins. So I'm not going to gouge these two sides, but everywhere back here, we're going to do that so that it looks, you know, like a pumpkin does with those sort of indents that they always have. And just put it every once in a while. Put one of these and just, you can either do it with like a V gouge or something, or you can cut it out with your knife and just do the V cuts. All right, and then a couple more. Okay, so now, get some of these shavings out of the way here. Now we're going to paint it. And I have this handy little tray here where all my paints go. What I use, let's see here. So, we got pumpkin orange. Let's use this. Oh, I haven't even opened it yet. That's how new this one is. All right, so let's pour a little pumpkin orange. And we're not going to want to go too thick on the first round, but we're going to want to coat the entire surface, okay? So let's put a thin-ish coat on the entire surface of the pumpkins, bottom to top, okay? And wherever it gets too thick, just smooth it out a little bit more. And yeah, it should dry fairly quickly, and then we can go into another coat if it needs it. It probably will. Or into the faces and the green for the stem. Sorry, I keep getting out of focus here. All right. So you can see this is fairly well coated, and I'm just going to smooth it out a little bit. so that it isn't too thick and it can dry quickly. Then we'll do the second pumpkin, same way. I left these ungouged and also pretty flat so that we can paint their faces on them. It's a nice little Halloween decoration that you can make. Put it up on your shelf. And it's very quick to make. Okay, so this third one's about done. And so on, all the way to the top. And I'll check in when it is done. Okay, this thing is all painted up. You can see it's a gloss paint, and some of it might still be slightly tacky, but I think it's good enough to go ahead and put the faces on. And then I painted the top with some green for the stem. But I got a tiny little brush here, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get some black paint and make sure I'm in the camera here, and then just make an eye, make a mouth here. Nothing fancy. And then a nose. It's a very simple situation, but it will look cool when it's on the shelf. And then I'm going to do the same eyes here. This one will have a rounded mouth. Almost like he's screaming or something. And no nose. So that's how you carve this stack of pumpkins. If you want, you can take like an orange or, a darker orange and color in these little gouges here. But yeah, that's essentially it. Let's have a look at it. This is something that you could put up on your shelf and, as a decoration. So thanks for watching.